Good evening, everyone, and I'd like to call to order the Thursday, April 18th, 2024 meeting of the Finance and Warrant Committee. First on our agenda is public comment. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Yes, please. Name and address, please.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Susan Butler, 60 Clark Street, Precinct 6 Town Meeting Member. So in the spirit of helping keep the budget process moving and avoiding the meeting extending late into the evening again for all of you, I am reading a statement to possibly save you time tonight. First, thank you for the efforts during this budget season. I appreciate your questions, concerns, comments, for the overall Dedham community and especially for taxpayers. Knowing the final vote is with town meeting, you have done yeoman's work. I don't recall in recent history a budget process that has required this much attention and under such distress from the Finance Warrant Committee. Just a few short years ago during the COVID crisis, the message at town meeting was to expect cuts and tightening of the belt in the years ahead. 4 years later, the Warrant article includes requests for several new positions and more construction to Town Hall. This taxpayers have been forced to shoulder an increase of 21.5% to the average tax bill over the past 2 to 3 years, even as our diminished excess levy went from $9.5 million to $1.5 million over just the past 4 to 5 years. All the while, many publicly have stated, including our town officials and consultants, that our budget is not sustainable. Most alarming, officials have recently stated we can do better at prioritizing. From the look of this warrant article and budget constraints, I agree. Respectfully, I don't expect answers to my questions tonight, which are, what is the process for proposed warrant articles seeking to be funded and or approved prior for them being presented to FinCom? Did our town officials deny any committee or department the opportunity to proceed with funding requests and or approval from FinCom? I ask these questions because I am concerned by these warrant articles and how they were allowed to go forward at this point, realizing our financial situation and knowing all articles could be approved. I suggest during the next budget process, our town officials take a more deliberate approach by saying no, not now, or let's take a pause to some of these requests prior to these deliberations and not pass the burden of questionable financial decisions in these trying economic times onto Finance and Warrant. A more proactive and realistic approach at Town Hall will allow FinCom members to focus more on the well-identified and well-communicated priorities set by the town, whatever they may be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Anyone else? Public comment? Seeing none. At this point, we have discussion and vote regarding closing the public hearing on the remaining warrant articles. The remaining articles are Article 3, 4, and 18. At this point, we've received some information tonight and also during the day on some information and updates in terms of the budget, Article 3, and also Article 4. And when Leon's ready, you can walk us through these. And everybody have the paper? Yes. Yeah. Everybody? Okay, fine, great. Good evening, Leon.
Good evening, Finance and Warrant Committee. Thank you again for having us this evening and for discussing these articles. So you have a couple of pieces of paper in front of you this evening. One is titled FWC Requested Operating Budget Reductions, and the date is 4/18/24 on that. There are several tables on that handout as well, and that they attempt to explain to you all the impacts of various budget decisions that are made this evening, and that was per your request. So that top table, if you look at it, you see the original town manager proposed budget, the operating budget at 137, 837, 723, which is a 6.2% increase and would have resulted in a $570 impact on the average single-family tax bill. If you move to the right, one column to the right, after the adjustment to the Robin Reyes income as a result of the most recent quarterly payment, you see same operating budget, the tax levy is reduced there by that offset. And then so you have the average single-family tax increase goes down to 518, and it's a 5.6% increase. If you're looking now beyond that, if you're actually reducing the operating budget, you see that a 0.5% reduction, which is about $689,000, would further lower the increase to $459, which is a 5% increase. And then to the furthest column to the right is a 1% reduction, which is 1.3 million. And that would be the average single-family tax bill would increase $400 next year. That's a 4.3% increase. So those are your sort of options as they play out. And again, these are all estimates at this point in time, but at fall town meeting, that will become more firm, or after fall town meeting, rather. And then, so the tables below that are similar to the ones you saw before with some slight modifications. Table 1 is actually the same, so that totals $691,740 in potential reductions there or options. Table 2 is the 1% reduction table. That includes all items from Table 1 and then includes the items that we had previously laid out with one adjustment, and you see that's the late on Brady's handily labeled the lines. So line 13, we discussed last week the Youth Commission admin assistant position, and you have a letter in your packet tonight also talking about that from the youth director. Our proposal is to fund that at 19 hours per week and make several other budget modifications that are outlined in Becky's letter to you all. And that would result in a net savings of $47,000, $47,140. And so that change brings the bottom line savings to $1,359,867 if you were to include all of those. It's still at 19 hours is unbenefited, so it wouldn't affect the benefit savings there. And then Table 3 is the new table, and that was based on our discussions last week, or actually not last week, Tuesday.
Tuesday. It seems like,
Feels like a while ago. Those total $85,000. They include utilities in the facilities department, vehicle fuel in the fire department, street lighting in the public works department, and a decrease in the operating capital for vehicles in the facilities department, which is deferring one vehicle or a Kubota, which is a Kubota tractor. And then Table 4 is capital items. I don't know if you want me to cover any more, or...
at this point, we've seen this, and we had a back and forth at the last meeting, but I think if there's anybody at this point that has any questions, Kevin?
I just have one, between the 0.5 reduction and the 1% reduction in the first box. They both include the $500,000 OPEB.
They do.
So if you took the OPEB out, let's assume we decided not to defer it at all.
Yep.
Put the full 500,000 in. The 1% reduction would translate down to about a $800 and something thousand reduction.
Yeah.
Which would leave our net number somewhere between 4.3 and 5.0. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, it would be...
You say that again? Just...
In other words, both of the 0.5 reduction and the 1% reduction include the $500,000 deferral of OPEB, which I think we all are on the same page, is just to kick the can down the road. We still owe it, probably get more expensive.
It would be sub 5%, but I'm sure we can...
Right, but so the number, actually, if we could gin it up, I don't know whether we can, but if we did everything other than let's assume for the sake of argument, we adopted your suggestion, I want to call it a recommendation on the youth commission, and decided not to do the OPEB deferral and did the whole 500,000, paid it. My question is really, where would we end up between the 5% increase on the bottom of that first box and the 4.3?
Can I just interject one thing? I'm a bit confused. Originally, the town manager had $750,000 into OPEB.
For what?
Oh, for OPEB, for
Yep.
OPEB. The reduction proposed is to cut it back to $250,000.
Right, but
So this
these numbers include the $500,000.
They do.
They do,
They
yeah.
do, okay,
Yes.
all right.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess my question is, if we decided not to do that at all, if we went with we paid the 500,000, not the 750, what would the,
So we increase it, what,
That
to
makes
200, to-
250.
instead of 250,000 to 500,000, is that what you?
well, I don't think the 250 is baked into this.
No, it isn't.
I think
Isn't, no.
it's zero is baked into this.
I think if I'm understanding correctly
No.
from Kevin, you're saying fund OPEB at the recommended level in the budget, which is 750, don't reduce it by
No,
500.
No, I'm saying you had proposed at some point 500,000
No.
for OPEB,
No.
I thought.
No, it was 750.
No.
It's a
all right.
500 was the cut,
Savings.
getting us down to
Okay.
250.
These
Okay.
both have us putting
Yeah, right, yeah.
250 in. It was originally 750, and then in both of these, we're saving 500,000 by
Oh,
only
the
putting.
cut is 500.
500,000,
It's
leaving a
500,000,
payment of 250,000, correct?
But if you were to take out the OPEB, you included the 85,000 from Tuesday's discussion, Brady will correct me, but I think it's 944,867 is the number.
Say it again?
$944,867 is the total of tables, the 1% plus the table 3, subtracting out the OPEB reduction, so.
So instead of the 1,359,059, it would go to 9, would you say?
Instead of the 1,444,867 that totals up at the very bottom below.
Yes.
You would end up with 944,867.
And the impact on the box number 1, which is the ASF tax increase,
Get that for you.
approximately?
Yeah.
No. So why don't we wait to see?
I think,
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Why don't we wait and go through this, if there's any additions, further subtractions, whatever,
I think.
rather than do it item by item? Is that what you, yes?
And then if I could just, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just make sure I understand that. So on the second line on the top table, OB reduction, that number 689,189 and 1378377, shouldn't they equal the total numbers on table 1, 05 reduction, and table 2, 1% reduction? They're almost identical, but they're,
You know what? They're slightly different, and that's because we modified the table 2 late in the day today as a result of this letter and an understanding that we could
Okay.
potentially, so that's slightly different, because
it's small number, I just didn't.
it's small,
wonder if I-
and that's because that's the exact math that's required to do a 0.5 and 1% reduction, and then we had previously arrived at that via these tables, and then we modified the table, so that's why it's slightly
So
off.
In that table, OB reduction, where it says 689,189, that's just a
Yep.
calculation of 1/2 of 1%?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
exactly
Okay,
it.
great,
Yep.
and that's how we got there?
That's how we got there, exactly, yep.
Great. Thanks.
Everybody all set on? yeah?
Sorry.
No. This was- Mike P.?
Yeah, I just did a little math here, and if I did my math correctly, I was looking at the facilities budget. The facilities operating budget had the largest increase versus 24 at 517,000, 20.1%. So if I back out the 200,000 assessment, which was impacting the operating budget, and the 68,000 custodian reduction, I get 249,000 or a 9.6% increase. Still the largest increase. I guess it's more of a comment than anything else. It's still, obviously, this is not capital, this is just operating expense.
But I think in the operating for facilities, we had the discussion last fall, and then it was presented as the house doctor. So that would factor in there in terms of that, not a capital expense, but it was put into the operating
Yes,
budget
yes.
for facilities. So I think that ballooned up. That's not the right word, but it raised that percentage and the amount that's in there. But I think we all agree and concurred with the facility manager that and Leon's recommendation, that that's going to be a cost saving in the long run for projects and have them estimated ahead of time and be on time, so.
True,
Yes.
that's 105,000, but the purchase services are still going up 206,000.
And that, I think, supplies.
If I could just, so listed on the table 4, you're right, is the assessment, which is 200,000, but that's in the capital budget. I think because there's a little bit of, because we talked about them simultaneously. So there is the 105,000, which is the house doctor,
Yeah.
which is in the operating budget under operating capital, and that is driving up that professional services line. It previously would have been a capital item, is now included in the operating budget.
Yeah.
But the proposed reduction here on table 4 is coming out of capital, so it won't impact.
Oh, I thought it was operating capital.
No, it was just straight up capital.
Okay, then I take it back. It's
Yeah.
not going, it's
It'll-
not getting as good as I thought it was.
It's going down by just the,
So it's probably a 16 or 17% increase.
yeah, you're probably in that range, yeah.
All right, still very large, but, okay.
True. But the compelling presentations were that there's a lot to be caught up with our facilities and the coverage on them, so.
If I may, just to talk about the positions a little bit.
Certainly.
If the Finance and Warrant Committee does move forward with these reductions and freezes these positions, if you will, I would like to make a proposal, because I think it was a good discussion we had the other night about the position control committee, or the idea of that, would be if it would be okay with the Finance and Warrant Committee to allow town management, if positions come open during the year, to perhaps fill some of these ones, even though the line item will have been changed, and then come back to you all through the town meeting process and do line item transfers while maintaining the net savings from these 7 positions, just to be able to strategically reallocate our personnel funds. We'll take your recommendation in town meeting, obviously, but I think it would be beneficial to the whole organization if we could try to fill in the pieces a little bit, because there are some of these that are more impactful than others. And as I mentioned, it's a snapshot in time. We found vacant positions. These are not necessarily the ones that we would reduce if we had to in the long run. It will be more strategic. And I think we will take the reduction if that's the choice of the board, but it would be better to be able to apply that reduction throughout the year through attrition and things like that if we could. The net bottom would be the same, but we would move the funds between lines if possible. And again, that would all depend on attrition and positions opening up.
Liz?
I think you just answered it, because when you first started explaining it, it sounded like we were going to be presented with line item transfers that we had to approve because they were spent, but you're going to keep the bond the same.
We'll keep the bottom the same,
Okay.
but it would be reallocating personnel funds in the event that we have other positions come available.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? I think that's, I would concur with that myself, because I think it allows the flexibility within the structure to fill those positions that need to be. And obviously, town manager's office and department heads are far more attuned to the operational aspects than this committee. So I think that I would support that
Thank you.
process
Yeah,
going forward.
We'll obviously keep you in the loop and
Yeah.
report back.
Right. Right. Any other adjustments or any other questions regarding what we have, so Brady can do her magic?
I think,
Go ahead.
so I think there'll probably be other during our discussions, other adjustments that she should probably wait for.
Okay,
So,
that's fine.
Right, I think it's a matter of just if we have questions now for the hearing portion.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Yep, fine. All right, any other questions as this relates, the part of this presentation that relates to Article 3? Are there any other questions regarding Article 3 or anything on this sheet at this time? Is everyone comfortable? Okay, thank you. Bottom of the page, Table 4 relates to capital, because that is still an open article at this point. Are there any questions? When we go in deliberations, we can always ask for clarification, so that's part of it. But there anything along with the, for line items? Oh,
Could you just tell me what was the capital in last year, 2024? Well, you know, we're at 8.579 now. What was last year?
Let me,
The last one we didn't have ionized, but it was lower, it was 5.2.
5.2.
5.2.
for bonded?
Yeah, the roads,
Yeah.
we didn't add
Yeah.
that, this
Yep.
year bonded.
right.
So for that bonded portion, are you talking total portion or just the bonded portion?
What was the capital budget last, the apples and apples to the 8.579?
We'll do it.
We can get it for
Okay,
you.
okay, okay.
I don't have it
Thank you.
right offhand.
Thank you.
All right. Sarah, did you have a question?
Yes, I thought that we had wanted to also include a reduction of roads and sidewalks, and I just don't see that here.
So if you recall my proposal last week, and you all can choose to do what you will with that, but was that we would, based on the 3-year road program that was recently approved by the select board, which is, the assumption is that we're going to spend 1.2 million per year. Because there's some uncertainty revolving around the Chapter 90 funds that are our road reimbursement funds, our proposal was that we would adhere to the $1.2 million spending limit, and we would reduce that by the Chapter 90 funds, and then only use the bond proceeds necessary to get up to the 1.2 million. But our hope was that if we bonded, and we could just carry those forward and use them, apply them toward next year's road program if we don't use them. Because there is some, just a little bit of anxiety that we might not get the supplemental Chapter 90, which we got last year for the first time as a result of the millionaire tax, which was a little over $300,000. And if we don't get that this year, or it fluctuates a lot, we could have to go back to folks who have been excitedly reading the road list and tell them that we're not going to get to it. And that would be not the best scenario. So I guess our hope was that if we left the $700,000 alone, we would come to the agreement that we won't spend any more than necessary to get to the 1.2 million out of that. Is that okay, if that's okay with you all?
Okay. Yeah, I recall that now, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Liz?
On the planning board counter, I thought we were able to come to a different number not last week, 2 nights ago.
So that's 100, the original ask was 125,000, so this is reducing it by 100. So it would leave $25,000 in that line, and the 25,000 together with the ARPA funds that we have set aside for that, total 150,000, which we believe will be enough to get that project done based on the most recent cost estimate.
Yeah,
Mike?
Still
the reductions on the bottom of this page are not in the capital page. That's why it looks like it's 125.
Oh, thank you.
So, that helps.
Sorry, I was looking at
Sorry.
standalone.
Yeah, the capital page is the original, is still the original. It's got the
Oh,
Finance and Warrant Committee column that hasn't been adjusted yet.
Okay, so the assessments are there too, and
Yep.
okay, thank you. And the camera reduction.
Okay.
Thank you.
All set? Anyone else? Hopefully, you mentioned 300,000, we're going back to the streets.
Yeah.
And so, given the position of the state, and everybody reads the papers and sees what's going on, so if that doesn't become a reality, and that won't be till probably September, give or take, or?
I'd have to go back and look. I think we got the letter sometime in the early fall last year. So yeah, about, after the state budget is usually approved is when we find that out.
So when we convene for November
We can
town meeting.
update you then.
We can have an update of where that stands, I think is what we would request. Okay, that agreeable?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Any other questions regarding that, the capital request? Take some time. It's a lot of money. You all set? Sarah, you're looking,
No, I'm okay.
you sure?
Yeah.
Because I know you're intent on something there.
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. All right, so any questions regarding Article 3 and Article 4 set now? Is everybody comfortable with closing the hearings on 3, 4, and 18? Could I have a motion
So moved.
to close the public hearings on 3, 4, and 18? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none on the vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, it's unanimous. We are now in deliberations, and then we will go to our packet, wherever it is. Yes.
So
Oh,
I,
talk through, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So I will be making the motion on Article 3, but before I do, I just want to say that my intention here is to represent, the amount I'll be giving will represent the town manager's original recommendation minus all the modifications we discussed on Tuesday, include with the 2 adjustments that Leon just went over with us. And I anticipate then during discussions that we might have, some things that we'll come to consensus on that we might want to change, but just want to get the motion out there to start us on
Excellent. Thank
the
you.
process.
I'm sorry, is this the motion that we already have the packet for?
We have a packet, but we don't have a number.
We didn't have a number, we're going to get the number now.
Okay.
Article 3.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is the number represents the town manager's recommendation minus all of the proposed modifications, so Table 2 and Table 3. So I will move that it's the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Committee that the sum of $136,392,856 be raised and appropriated in the amounts and for the specific purposes hereafter designated to be expended under the direction of respective boards, committees, or officers of the town.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
I just have a question. I know I'm being thick about this, about the OPEB. Is it 250, 500?
It's OPEB at 250.
It's 250.
250,
Yeah.
right, thank you.
It took me a little while to find it.
Just to clarify, that includes, that's a reduction in 500 from OPEB
Yeah.
and funding OPEB at 250.
250.
For 250.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Right. And it includes the half position for the
Yep,
youth
it does,
commission.
yep.
Right.
So everything you discussed for
Yes.
us and presented
Yep.
is included in that 136,392,856, correct?
The 136,392,856 includes Table 2, which is Table 1 plus the rest of Table 2, including putting 250,000 in OPEB and everything else we discussed Tuesday, except with the change for the Youth Commission, which instead of having no admin, has 19 hours. And I understood you, Leon and Brady, that it is also including the other
It
modifications.
includes those
that-
other, that's the net of
Yeah, that's the
including
net,
those other
yeah.
modifications. Yep.
And the other difference was the one vehicle from facilities put back in. So I think if we want to discuss OPEB or any other changes to that, this is the time to do it.
What was the, I only got the 136. What was the rest of the number?
It's 136,392,856.
Thank you. And the reduction, I'm sorry, but the reduction, it's the 1,444,867? Is how we got there?
The original
Yes.
proposed motion?
1,444,867.
Okay, thank you.
So if no one else has something, I'll see if anyone else has something.
Anyone else have any?
I'd be interested now, sorry Brady, in seeing what happens if we put 250 back. to OPEB. So we get to 500.
Okay.
And I would like to discuss restoring the planning position. And my thought there is that I think there is it's a position that actually can lead to revenue generation, and that we need a focus on economic development and building our commercial tax base. And that we learned about how hard that is to fill that position. And my concern is that if somebody finally comes around and the position isn't open, we lose the opportunity. And especially given Leon's, ability to, move from one position to another. And the new master plan coming on board too, I think there's just a lot more work for the department. So that I would just be interested in what others think about putting that back in.
Anyone? Henry?
I'd be supportive, and because another way I look at that, it's the one position here which is kind of revenue generating potentially, right? Can create some return for us and everything you said. So.
Liz?
My question would be, but with what Leon proposed about these unfilled positions, we wouldn't necessarily need to restore it right now, or because you'd still have, say that wonderful candidate falls out of the sky, right? You'd still have the potential to consider them.
I would only have that potential if another $88,000 position became vacant.
As it fits into the classifications.
Well, I'm just, because my proposal was that
You're not going to raise
if
the
we,
number, right?
I would only fill positions as other ones became vacant and I had the funds available to, so.
Got it.
And it probably wouldn't be posted anymore, right?
And we're probably not going to tempt people with positions that we can't fill.
Yes.
How many positions typically become vacant during the course of a year?
Oh.
Only in the town
Yeah.
side.
Boy, that's a tough question. So this was roughly a 1 month look at it. We had we actually had about 10 positions, and I'm going to say we probably post 30 to 40 positions a year, it seems like.
So I guess the bottom line question, sort of following up on Michelle's thing, is what's the likelihood, if we just locked it in with the vacancies now, but did what you suggested in terms of letting you have a vacancy review committee, what's the likelihood that if the town planning thing, an opportunity arose, that some combination of positions would have become vacated that would enable you to respond to that and take advantage of the opportunity?
In the next couple of months, well, that's a tough question, just because it does fluctuate from time to time. I suppose that considering that this is next fiscal year's budget, sometime during the fiscal year it could probably happen. I can't guarantee when it would be, but it's likely that sometime during the fiscal year we could make that happen.
Thank you.
Mike P.?
Could I make a recommendation?
Sure.
That maybe we have an agreement that you could go after the planning, you can start the recruiting process for the planning now, but with the intention that we still hold to this number of all the total of the vacant positions, and as other positions come up, you would still manage to this number. So in other words, even though you don't have that additional open position today, we don't want to hold you back from recruiting for the planning, but based on what you just told us, the number of positions that typically come open, later on in the year, you would be able to fund it. So if we could have an agreement that we would still go after this number, but we're okay with starting the recruiting process, because it sounds like it's going to be a long recruiting process to get the type of person we want anyway.
Yeah, I would be amenable to that. I think that's I think I understand what the wish of the committee is on that one.
Could you just go over that again?
Yeah, does that mean the money goes back in, or it doesn't?
Just go back over what,
So you're suggesting it would not go back in, but we wouldn't unlist it as a posted position?
Yes.
And you would allow us in good faith to fill that position with the
Yes.
expectation that we would somehow realize these savings throughout the year.
Exactly. You would still, your target would still be the sum of these current open
Yep.
positions,
Yep.
including the tax
Yep.
plan.
Yes.
So
Mike Cameron.
just quick, makes me a little nervous for a couple reasons. So I saw you hesitating to answer Kevin's good question, and I applaud that because population of 30, I don't think you can make any prediction about when, the right kind of position is open.
That's right.
So if the position that opens up next week is a firefighter, we're not going to do this. And if we're talking about making these decisions strategically, well, we have a strategy for the town. It's called, the long-term plan. And if we have one position that's strategic, this might be it. And I'm afraid if, with good faith effort, it could be 6 months, it could be a year before you have funding for this position. And if it's that hard to recruit for it, I would argue that we want to be ready to get somebody when they come on. So we're either, support it or not. And anyway, so I'll stop there.
Michael Lee?
I totally understand the importance of the position from the revenue generation perspective, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm kind of stuck on is some of the things we've heard, during the hearing process. This position, I believe, has been open for 6 months. Positions such as this in the public sector are very difficult to fill based on the salary range. I am unconvinced that leaving this open at its current salary range will solve any issues. I could be wrong, I hope I am. And I know it's probably not the right time to talk about maybe doing something about the actual position description itself. I mean, I don't know, those are, way out of the purview, I think, of this particular conversation. But I am not confident that if 6 months has gone by and we're not seeing, candidates who are willing to join us walk in the door, that anything else really can be done at this point except the action that's on this sheet.
Liz? Oh,
I'm also.
you all set?
I
Sean?
was just going to say, it seems to me, tell me if I'm wrong, that it's kind of messy. I feel like we should either fund it or not fund it. I guess I'm going on what Mike Emery was saying. Even just for not having confusion at town meeting and in the, and even if we fund it, you can hope that you then, you could choose not to hire something else.
And I guess worst case scenario, if you fund it, we won't use these funds for anything else unless town meeting obviously approves that via line item transfer, and I doubt that will happen. So it would just become free cash, and that's not necessarily a bad thing to have.
My concern is that if it's a position that we need, which I think we do, because it's so hard to fill, going any amount of time without it out there advertised just makes it unlikely we'll ever fill it.
All set? Okay.
I think what Mike and I are saying, and to speak if I'm wrong, but there's no interest in delaying when you get the perfect candidate that comes up, that so long as it all nets out, A, within the fiscal year, and B, going forward. So, if you need to do a line item transfer, get that opportunity to do that position, and if in the judgment of the town manager, that is the priority, that I don't think there's any interest in stopping that from going forward. It's just, the understanding has to be that it's gonna net out within FY '25 and rolling forward with other savings from other positions that are judged to be less critical, that's all. So, and it's, I think Mike's sort of a gentleman's or gentle person's
Gentle person.
agreement about just what we're trying to achieve here.
Come back. If we were to fund it, that changes the employee benefits line. By how much?
25,000,
25?
I think.
A little less.
We had used an
25%.
average amount per position. If we just divide the 168 by 7,
24,000?
24,000.
Oh, so it's 25%.
So it's a 102.
Anyone else? I understand, I look at the fiscal circumstances right now for '25, and also in the back of my mind is what it's going to look like in FY '26, particularly with our lack of levy increase. I think this position, one of the factors in building a budget that might be a reality for '26 is 2.5, new growth and local receipts. New growth is a big part of that equation and should be. I think I would support keeping this position in because of the possibilities, and not the possibilities, but this position should be a big part of developing new growth for the town. And I would therefore take the position. I've changed my mind 3 or 4 different times on this. But I think that that's one area that we are going to really need, and hopefully we can find somebody that is going to be able to go out and generate some new areas of income for the town, revenue. That's the way I look at that right now. Now, how do we do this? So we have a motion and a second, and we're in discussion.
Yeah.
Any other parts of the budget that anybody else would like to discuss?
I can hold on the OPEB number unless anyone else wants to hear it.
Go ahead.
No, I don't need it.
Oh.
I had asked for a new number based on.
Oh, yes.
that, But I can move ahead.
Okay. So what we'd like to do is see, at this point, so that would be in addition to this.
Yeah, do we feel like that's the will of the group?
So then we would need, if that's the will of the group, that we keep that position and we vote down the current motion.
Right, but I think, do we all want to hear what the
What the
impact
number
would
is.
be? So it would be the impact of adding back the 88,770 plus the benefits of 24, plus were we wanting to hear about that with more OPEB also? 250 more? I don't know.
All right,
It was 250 more. I think that's what you
250
would
more?
ask.
Yeah, but I was saying I can move on without it.
I mean,
Others want to hear it, then let's hear it.
I mean,
I do.
Okay.
I would like to hear it as well.
Yeah.
your
The additional OPEB monies,
discussion
For a total of 500.
to bring
to
us.
bring it up to
Different
500.
numbers, yeah. Use the
Mr.
calculator.
Chairman, I apologize, I'm deaf as a hat. but
Go ahead.
you were suggesting that we put the planning position back in funded rather than funded out of upcoming savings, is that?
That's what I have as the will of the board. Unless
It
someone,
might end up that way, but I think we want to, you need to see it in the budget for the town meeting to look at it that way, right?
the OPEB question, I'll go on this. I think we have to keep paying into it, just to keep that up. As I read the other night, I don't believe I brought the bonding agent's recommendation, but we are currently in a pretty good position with our OPEB, better than most, and we are making payments toward it. We're not just like we did it a couple of years ago in town meeting, we didn't fund it at all. So we're making steps toward payment. I think that, given that it's, in my feeling is, it's something, as we're looking to reduce the tax burden, the tax levy on folks, I think that we can move ahead for this year with the $250,000, 250,000, and then we can revisit everything when we get together next spring and see if there's been any indication from our bonding folks that this is an area that there raises some concern, because in reading that report that we were given, it doesn't seem to be a factor. Michael, you? Oh.
Nope.
Nope, okay, I thought you did.
So what I'm hearing is there's sort of 3 ideas that are being proposed. One is to raise the OPEB to 500,000. One is to reinstate the planning position, and one is to reinstate a 19-hour youth commission position. And if those turn out to be the 3 things that the committee decides on, could we get an updated number?
That's what I think we're doing.
These numbers. And
But I think before we ask Brady to do that, we have to be pretty solid in what we're
Yeah,
putting
right,
forward.
right.
My sense of the board tonight is that we are looking at funding the planning position.
Yeah.
No?
He's shaking his head.
Well, I'm just one of
Right.
many, but,
Thank
yeah.
you. Anyone else?
I am conflicted, as was evident by my comments. However, I would be willing to support it, but with my comments on the record.
Okay.
Part of the reason why I asked the question is where I'd be on it would be driven in part by what that number comes out to be. So, if it's an ugly number, I'd be more inclined to agree with my
Well,
colleague.
what you're asking is, if we did that, what is the
If we did
impact?
those three things, what's the bottom line on the average residential tax bill? So this, I guess essentially the question.
So it sounds like we're asked, sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Maybe we need to ask Brady for two things. Sorry, by the way, she's not here. One, because we already have the number with the 19 hours. in.
Yes.
Yes.
So what's the number with OPEB and planning, and what's the number with just planning? Or just OPEB?
We could start with
Just
both
OPEB.
and see what we.
Go.
Sure. Go ahead, Brady.
Okay. So increasing OPEB to 500, including putting back in the planner and putting back in the 19-hour youth commission admin.
That's
And you
all.
have the benefits for the planner too.
Yep, yeah. So the impact would be $422, making the average tax bill 9666, which is an increase of 4.57 over last year.
4.57?
Yeah, 4.6, I guess, because we went to one place before.
And what's the new budget number?
So the new levy, you want to know the operating budget number?
Yeah,
One moment, please.
sure.
Sure.
I have the, I
Take your
use
time,
the
Brenda.
levy, not the budget, so.
Oh, okay. yeah.
Was that 4.57 the levy or the residential tax?
The average tax bill.
Okay,
Yep, so those numbers match your box at the top.
great.
Yep. So,
What was the dollar increase?
422.
So 407 to 422.
Operating budget would be 136,755,627.
Could you say that again, please?
Yes. 136,755,627.
And
Sort of in between that 0.5 and 1% reduction.
so what you're saying with the planner and the 19-hour position, we'll be looking at average single-family tax bill of $422 and an increase of 4.57.
And that included OPEB at 5, right?
Did that include the OPEB? Oh, okay, so that includes the OPEB.
Yeah.
And the benefit.
And the benefits, yes, thank you.
With everything.
Yeah.
So we'd be increasing, or the adjustment would be from 407 to 422, and from 4.4 to 4.57.
Again, that's, as you all warn us every year, it's an estimate.
It's an estimate,
Rough,
yes.
Very rough estimate.
Yes. Things could change between now and the first week in December. But this is in the ballpark, I think. So, how do we do
So I
this?
can do it, I think I need to withdraw my motion.
Or we can amend a motion.
Easier to withdraw and doing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Liz.
Yeah, yeah.
Withdraw?
You're here.
Whoever made the second to withdraw their second motion will just.
Mike, who seconded this?
I seconded it.
Okay. You're withdrawing your second, right?
I withdraw my second.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll make another motion, and we can
Yes.
discuss it. Okay, motion. Okay, Article 3, I move that it's a recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Committee that the sum of $136,755,627 be raised and appropriated in the amounts and for the specific purposes hereafter designated to be expended under the direction of respective boards, committees, or officers of the town.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Liz. Discussion.
I guess I'm not going to hold the budget up, but I just want on record that I would support the full reduction that we had not the increased OPEB. The tax planning position, I think, with 30 positions coming vacant, we would easily be able to still afford doing that and live within that number. And the youth admin, yeah, I'd be fine with the additional hours in youth admin. I think that's important. But you know, I just want on record that that's what I would have supported myself.
Thank you.
Just a question. So the motion that you just made reflects the 4.57 increase in the 422 tax increase?
Yes.
Is that right, okay. And the three items we discussed?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I can live with that.
I also want to point out, because a big part of this budget is the school department, and just for clarification, because we've been back and forth and we've had people come in, there was, as we all received, the corrected percentages that worked out between Leon and the school department, that the recommendation that is before us, waiting for a vote, is, I believe the town manager's recommendation is almost $60,000 more than what the school committee voted their dollar amount. Percentages, and they'll be corrected, and it'll be, school committee and the school department has said they will have a follow-up meeting with the community, but the increase results to 7.75 in the school committee's approved budget, and the town manager's, if we vote this, is a 7.85 increase. And that's for education and facilities within the school budget. Okay. We have a motion and a second? Oh, sorry.
No, the only observation I make is, you know, usually everything turns out to be higher than we thought it was going to be. It's just the nature of the beast. But, you know, there's also the risk, a couple of years, one in particular, we thought we were doing a 4% increase in the average residential tax bill. It turned out to be 1.9, which is a wonderful thing until you get to the next year and you start out 2.1% in the hole because you haven't done the levy. So, you know, I have very strong feelings that anything above 5, particularly following on the heels of the last couple of years, but, you know, 4.57, given the CPI in the last 12 months went up 3.5, and a lot of our stuff is disproportionately higher, like school transportation costs and stuff, that I don't see how we do better than that, so.
And let me also be clear that this is not a level service budget. There is no way. We have made great strides over the last 2-3 years to have a level service budget, and this one is not. There are FTE adjustments to the municipal component and also to the school component. But the reality is there for the town people to understand, and we will, again, we will take this budget presentation to the town meeting members, to the citizens, to reflect what is involved with this. But again, correct me, you've been around as much as long as I have, but this is the first one that I can recall that has not hit the target of level service. And, but this, I think, is the economic reality that we have in this town at this point. And we're not alone. We're not alone. Read the papers, see the different communities, the fluid communities that are facing issues. So, is that, sure.
Oh, sorry. I just wondered, will we outline all of this for town meeting in either the message from the board, or will the town manager have some kind of supplement that, I just want to make sure that town meeting knows going in, the cuts made on both sides, because that trickles out to
Sure.
just the residents. And I felt like people were off guard last year when we did make reductions.
And I think we learned from the mistake that we made last year.
Yes.
And this year, we're going to approach it totally different. This will be part of the information that we put forth. Identifying individual positions, you know, it's a reduction in force of 7 positions. They're not going to be, if town meeting votes, they are not going to be 6 positions. They're not going to be funded next year. And that will affect services, level service. And because this is after, 3 years of 7% plus increases? We're targeting right now 4.57? Again, what's the reality come December? But I think should be close, but who knows? That's up to the folks here with assessors and everything else. Mike?
Yeah, I think it's just one important clarification, though,
Sure.
especially if it goes out to the town. It's not a reduction in force. We are delaying these open positions, kind of kicking the can down for next year and discuss them again next year. But we are not, we're not permanently reducing these positions.
Well, we don't have the funds to hire for them now, so unless next
position's
town
gone.
meeting approves them, it is a reduction in force, but they're not occupied positions, so we're not laying people off. But they are positions that won't.
I guess I'm confused, because when you first brought these positions up,
Yep.
you said we wouldn't fund them this year.
That's right.
But we weren't eliminating the positions.
Sure. They're not eliminated from the org chart, but the understanding is that we won't fill them unless town meeting approves funds for them in the future.
When the report goes out, that's FTEs, it's going to reflect.
It's gonna, exactly, it'll show less
Reduction.
FTEs.
Okay.
Okay?
The status quo is the FTE count dropped.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can raise it again down the road, maybe,
So then,
but it's
if
dropped.
so then next year, it would be presented as ads.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then I take that back, it is a reduction in force.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my question.
good.
What when we go into next year, what's considered level service?
Right.
With or without? And you're saying minus.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
This is the start of
Okay.
what the reality is in municipal government.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, inflation, all the things that Leon has hit on, and everybody's experiencing. And let's just see how it plays out.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment about the school budget if I could.
Certainly.
Well, first, I'll say this process for my 5 years on this board has been really challenging. And I totally get where everybody is coming from with comments, suggestions, et cetera. But one thing I want to put on the record is that I would like to see next year an effort made, especially as it pertains to the schools, to look at some budget drivers maybe that were covered but on a very high level. One of which is the cost per student. Our esteemed colleague, Mike Emery, prepared a comparison of the peer group that Superintendent Murphy used in her budget message. And it seems to me that based on information contained in that, our cost per student is, I think, the highest in the peer group. Our student-to-teacher ratio is the lowest in the peer group. And our classroom size, it wasn't as obvious to me that there was anything outstanding in that. But I think those are budget drivers that need to be more heavily weighed when a budget such as this is being put together. Granted, the budget drivers that Superintendent Murphy mentioned were extremely valid. This is unprecedented circumstances and unprecedented times. I totally understand that. But I really, truly think, for the full benefit of all the taxpayers in this town, that those particular elements should also be looked at. And maybe, I'm not an educator, I'm just looking at numbers. You know, I went to school in Dedham a long time ago. I know a lot of things have changed. But anyway, I just thought it important to mention that because I struggled a lot personally when going over this part of the budget. And education is not something you want to mess around with. I don't know what the answer is, but hopefully our colleagues in the school department can help us out with that. Thanks.
Thank you. If you look down the road, I mean, we're talking about FY '25 here, but looking at the long-range projections that we saw from the gentleman from the Collins Institute last year, looking at the budget as it is right now that we will be voting on in a minute or two, you look at the diminished excess levy which for the past 4 or 5 years has allowed us to be level service and using that, in my opinion. Next year, I think there's got to be a different approach and a startup type of thing with the budgets for the town. I think some of the economic reality is going to be there for FY '25, and I hope I'm wrong, but it's going to be more vivid in '26. So, anyone else?
Just before we make a decision, I do want to just make a comment on the town manager and town staff, that the quality of staff support has just skyrocketed, I think, over the years that I've been on the committee, particularly recently. So it's made our job much, much easier to get the level of staff support that we've gotten.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
I will be touching on that when we get to old and new business, too. Okay. Any further discussion on the Article 3? And just to be clear, the amount we are voting on is, to recommend, is $136,755,627. Everybody have that? On the vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Chair votes aye. That is done. Article 4.
Okay. So my motion on Article 4 will reflect what we see in Table 4. So it's the town manager's original recommendation with the 5 modifications there, one of which is a bonded item of the Sander and the F-550, and the rest that are free cash items. And I will read it, but let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, so Article 4, I move that it's the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Committee that the town appropriate $853,000 from free cash to pay the cost of items 1, 4 through 6, 10, 13, 15, 21, 22, 26 through 29. I have confirmation that I got that right. You all trusting me or somebody checking?
I'm looking, and yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. And all incidental and related expenses, including as applicable, equipping of vehicles, all is shown in the table on the following page. That the town borrow $7,064,000 to pay the cost of items 3, 7, 8, 14, 16 through 18, 24, and 25, and all incidental and related expenses, including as applicable, equipping of vehicles, all is shown in the following table, and to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8 of the general laws or any other enabling authority to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore.
Thank you. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Liz. Discussion. Seeing none? Take a minute for everyone. All clear on this? Take a second. Everybody ready? Mike, you want to say something? Okay, everyone? Okay. Motions were made and seconded. On the vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
I feel like we just accomplished something.
What's that?
I feel like we just accomplished something.
I know. And now, the next one is Article 18.
All right, so Article 18 is related to the opt-in specialized energy code, and I move that it's the recommendation of the Finance and Warrant Committee that it be so voted.
Second that.
Discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment. I came full circle on this. I support this. I think there was a lot of good discussion, a lot of good feedback. I do think the proponents did make a very good effort to socialize and get the word out and listen. I also learned during the process, because I was initially, maybe not in favor of it or very much questioning it, but almost all of the concerns came to be with the existing regulations in place, not the additional proposal that's going on top of it. So based on all of that, I came full circle on this and I support it.
Okay, thank you. Sarah?
I also am going to support this. The concern I had was with additions and renovations to homes. And like Mike was saying, that is the stretch code and not the opt-in code. So I've come to understand that my concerns were with stretch code requirements, not opt-in code. And I do think that the consumer protection aspect of the opt-in code is very strong, and I think overall it's a benefit to the people. So I'm going to vote in favor of it.
Okay.
Everything they said, and I just want to commend the proponents here, because the diligence and the amount of information you provided and made it a lot easier this is complicated, it's really hard to understand, and you really made it possible for us, so thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, if Cindy wants to, I can.
Cindy?
Oh, yes. I had raised some questions that are at the meeting, and I think I still feel opposed to it. I think we still need more information. I did a lot more reading yesterday, following up with other people who sent us letters, and then just my own independent research. And as I understand it, if a developer comes to the town and says, let's say tomorrow, he comes to the town and wants to build a property on Route 1. And I want to use the opt-in specialty code. There's nothing that prevents him from doing that. We don't have to have this on the books for him to complete that process. So again, and I mentioned this the other night, that I feel I'd like to hear more from the developer side, the builder side. I'd like to hear more from municipalities. I'd like to hear from them in a year, 18 months, to ask them what was their experience, what did they learn, so that we can take those and develop our own best practices, and make it what it works for Dedham. What might work in one town might not work here, so I'm opposed to it right now.
All set?
Yes,
Mike?
thank you.
I'm going to echo what Cindy just mentioned, and add that because Dedham is unique in its square mileage as it pertains to commercial development and the abilities to do such, I don't feel like we've gotten enough information from developers to fully, in my mind at least, to give me the feeling that this has been fully vetted. I know that there are folks out in town that are against this as well. And I'd like to hear more from those who are opposing it as to why. I haven't heard, but from a couple of people indicating that they're not in favor of this. But, excuse me, the main point, the main focus for me is more vetting with developers and getting a better sense that when we're ready to do this, which hopefully will be soon, that we could have it presented to us again.
I agree with two of the three Michaels here. tonight, that my concerns, I never had any problem with the substance of this. I was concerned about the process, whether it had been vetted sufficiently, but the more feedback we got, it seemed that the opposition was based on misunderstandings in a number of cases of the two codes, trying to, which is perfectly understandable, but I'm sufficiently satisfied that, we can always make adjustments down the road, but, it's so obvious, I think, that this is the direction we have to go. And if we jump the gun a tiny bit, that's we can make worse mistakes than that, so I support it.
Liz?
I'll be voting yes for two reasons. One is I don't want to do anything to push off an effort to help with the greenhouse gas emissions. Buildings in Massachusetts are the number one, driver of those. And as far as the developers, I've heard a lot of fear, but no facts. Like, could be a concern, but I haven't heard any factual concerns in both what has been presented to us in my independent research. So I'm ready to go.
Anyone else? My position, I echo Cindy and my colleague, Mike Leahy here. I think that this is obviously a very worthwhile effort, and this is something, but I'm concerned that we have heard anecdotally in different areas and different developers and everything else. I think that it would be better, my feeling is that we not move forward on this and wait till November, because then we can have more information coming in from the developers. I harken back to my question, voting in the affirmative for the planner. I'm focusing on new growth of the town, because that is going to be an integral part of the budget going forward for this town. And I think that there has to be some more outreach for developers to come in and state their position and what effect it could or could not have on them. It's just some of the missing pieces on something like this, which has some impact beyond the actual code. It has impact on the revenue that the town of Dedham will hopefully receive or can receive. And that's just my position on this point. So I will be voting again, no. Anyone else? On the vote, why don't we do roll call, just to have this straight, okay? Kevin?
The motion is that it be so voted.
That it be so voted, I'm sorry.
I vote yes.
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 Michael P.? Sarah?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, chair votes no. So what is that? 6-3.
The closest vote I've seen in 2 years.
Because we do our homework. All right.
I'm sorry, what was it 5-4?
6-3.
6-3.
We're almost done. Liz, do you want to just talk, we didn't really get to talk too much in depth about what we're looking at for timetable on our outreach.
Oh, yeah, so Dave and I spoke in between our two meetings about our communique, as I like to call it, which is now turning into, it shall rival War and Peace in its, it better not. We feel like we're a Dedham Times publication, not the Friday right before town meeting, because that doesn't give people enough time, but we don't want too far ahead of town meeting, so we're aiming to publish something in the Dedham Times on the 10th. So that's 2 Fridays, so that's the Friday right before the mini warrant review. And so that means we have to wrap up whatever this communication is by the 7th to meet the paper's deadline. So we'll start drafting now that these meetings are over and get everybody's input.
Right.
And it'll just be important as we do that we don't reply all, right? I want everyone to
Yes.
weigh in, but we can't weigh in and reply all.
All right, so just, as communications come out, just remember that factor. Okay. Do you need something?
Me? I wanted
yeah,
to
the
talk
survey.
about the
Yes.
survey,
Thank you.
the DEI. project email that all of us got.
Okay. That was out there, and I think, Sarah, you?
Michael and I.
Michael and have been, you were on the startup for this?
Working group.
The working group
Yeah.
that kind of worked with the survey creators at UMass.
Okay.
So,
UMass Boston,
right, sorry.
My-
Yes, UMass Boston.
my former employer. Okay, thanks.
And the email pretty much asked for participation in an interview process with the project team over the elements of what they're going to be rolling out to Town Hall for tracking information from a DEI perspective. So it's not mandatory, but they're looking for as many participants as possible. One interview period has already passed, it was yesterday. There are 2 scheduled for next week, but they're all in the email that everyone should have received from Dave.
I forwarded that all.
Yeah,
Came from
so,
Human Resources.
Could you forward it again?
Sure.
I lost
Sure.
my massive email.
I have it right here, I printed it.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, there's a link to the webpage for the project in the email,
Okay.
and the schedule for the interview slots. And it looks like they're pretty amenable to people's schedules, so.
Okay.
And it's all
Who are they
anonymous.
interviewing? Is it town employees or board?
Boards, board members, committees,
And the topic of the interview is?
it's under the auspices of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Project.
Okay.
Basically, Sarah and I talked about it a long time ago. I wouldn't expect you to remember the details, but the town is in the process of further developing information gathering processes for statistics that involve DEI.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything?
Oh, I was just going to say, even questions like how long you've worked for the town, or how long you've been on the board, and then questions that are more DEI focused. But they do ultimately anonymize everything, if that, is that the verb? Anonymize? But they're collecting as much as they can.
Yeah, and basically an application that employees can access themselves and enter the information. There were questions about who had access to it, privacy, confidentiality, which were all handled as a part of the project, so.
So
Are
is
they
this,
interviewing town meeting members?
I don't think it went out to town meeting members.
It says members of boards, commissions, and committees.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
It says all chairs and members of boards, commissions, and committees are invited to participate in a brief survey.
so is this,
Excuse me,
sorry, that I
interview.
didn't read it closely in the middle of all of this, but is this interviews as they're trying to develop the survey, or this is the survey is the goal, like 100% participation? Or it's,
I don't believe so.
Leon, you might want to,
Thank you for talking about this, Michael. So this has been a project that's been going on for over a year. It was grant funded, if you all recall, and this is with the UMass Collins Center as well. And it's primarily a data gathering project so we can analyze get a better understanding of who our workforce is and how it better matches, we'll see how it matches our community from that DEI perspective. And again, as Sarah said, it's like questions about how long folks have worked here, whether they feel comfortable bringing concerns forward and things. It's meant to improve our workplace and people's place in their workplace. This portion of it is an interview of board and committee members to sort of get your input on some of these very same things. So this is you responding to the survey and the survey questions. And then I believe this is the final step before the dashboard itself is launched. So.
Okay. I thought the dashboard had been launched.
No, I think now they're collecting and they're going
Okay.
to launch.
Okay. See, that's how long ago it was. Boy, we sure know how to clear a room, don't we?
Once the money decisions are made.
and dashboards are like over this
Yeah.
way.
All right, Brady wants to go home, wrap it up.
All right.
We want to let Brady go home, is what you mean.
You got one more?
I know what Liz wants.
I know. One more, a couple more things. One, I want to just review some dates here. On Monday, April 29th, it's the town meeting reorg, which is at the high school, and we'll be getting out information to all of you about your assignment to go up and see and sit with your precinct. There are like 3, I'd sit there with 3, 4, 5, whatever, and we're just working through.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that as a group yet.
No, but
So it's building on, sorry, may I?
go ahead.
On Michael Emery's idea that we meet with our individual precincts that we represent and take them through, read them War and Peace.
So seeing that I don't have one, that means I don't have to.
Well, we're going to assign you.
Because not everyone might be able to make it, or you
Yeah.
want to find.
Oh, I think I'm busy.
And then we have also, on Monday, May 13th, is the mini-town meeting, which is again, I believe at the high school. I'm not sure where that's going to be.
It's usually at the middle school.
Middle school, either one.
Actually, Mr. Chair, did you say April 29th?
Yes,
Oh, I actually will be out of town on
Okay.
business.
There you go, Michael.
So,
that's why we have 2 at large.
yeah, I wanted to get that in before.
It's like the manager in the baseball, I'm going out the bullpen. Give me the right-hander, you know?
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank that one.
We can have
He's in
jousting,
one.
we can have jousting out in the parking lot after. And then on Monday, May 20th, is town meeting, just so we understand.
Mr. Chair, I will be, I won't be available for a mini.
Okay,
Neither will I.
Neither will I.
okay. Everybody's bailing out. huh?
No, I'll be in Ireland. If I can get it on my phone, I'll walk.
Yeah,
From a pub.
sure. Is that going to be right next to the bottle of Guinness, or is? Okay. We'll work things out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Just,
Where
yeah,
did you say the precinct reorg is?
29th,
Where?
high school.
High school, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, the reorgs at the high school?
They moved the high school from the Endicott.
Thank you.
Whatever. All right, we're almost there. I just want to take the opportunity, as Kevin had mentioned, just to express on behalf of the board here, sincere thank yous to Leon, to Nancy, to John, Doreen, and Brady for their guidance, their responsiveness, and their understanding on the questions and our requests for information. It was always punctual, and it was informative, and couldn't have asked for more cooperation, in my opinion, okay? And just in closing, although we'll be getting together soon, but put this together. But during the past 6 weeks, this committee has met for approximately 50 hours and posted meetings, and that's an average about 7 hours a week that we have done. And that doesn't include our liaison work with the different department heads and the countless hours preparing for our meetings. I'm always taken aback by the preparation that all of the colleagues put into these meetings. It's just amazing. And I thank you very much as the chair for your patience and for your understanding and for jumping on me when I make a mistake and all that kind of stuff. But in particular, I want to really thank Michelle. Keeping me organized is the most important thing, and making sure I follow the agenda. And the discussions that we have back and forth, different points. I raise something, Michelle raises something, and we work it out, I think, to the best interests of this board. So my thank you for everybody. This was, Kevin, this is one of the toughest ones that I know I've been through.
Best committee I've served with, seriously.
It's an honor to be the chair.
Thank you.
So it's $7.75 an hour, times how many hours?
Well, you're a labor attorney, aren't you? Can we,
Well, 50 hours gets us benefits, right?
yeah.
Would you have prevailing wage?
Well, I just like that about that. I'd like to thank the chair for your patience with maybe more with some than others, myself intended, with your patience and in hearing out all of our points and help and guidance along the way. So thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And it's always interesting the people that come to this and have experience with the private sector areas, and then to start to understand municipal. I mean, 37 years in the state, I knew that whole mess, but it's the private sector approaches are fundamentally, in some ways, different than has to be followed with municipal, and...
Wicked different.
What's that?
I said wicked different.
Wicked different. Was that a play? No, and no, wicked. And it's a learning experience, and it is difficult. And just trying to understand municipal finance. God bless you, John Arnett, and Leon, and Brady, and everyone, so.
And Nancy.
And Nancy, everyone here, so. All right.
The hours they put in.
Yes, you can now put away the voodoo dolls you've created for all of us.
I heard a plan that from Matt, the facility director, that a couple of us are gonna be stored up in the cupolas they're working on. So, in any event, I'll step aside as the chair for 1 second. I could do that under Robert's rules, and I will make the motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
Any discussions? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.